I don't have any friends right now, is the reality of it. And I mean, probably the last time, and I know it's COVID-y times, but I think the last time I did something with friends was like 3 months ago. And it's part of the reason that I don't like to post on social media a lot, because I don't want to be, I don't like the idea of giving people an impression of my life that is not accurate, because it doesn't make me feel good. I don't know how good it makes other people to feel, or I don't know how good it makes other people feel when they think other people's lives are perfect. So I guess I'm saying that while I feel like I have a lot of things to be very grateful for, my life is not perfect. And so, yeah, I just don't like to act like it is. And also, I think talking about this kind of stuff is good, hopefully, for helping other people who maybe are in a similar spot and feeling like it is just them. So I should maybe start by defining, for me, what, and I'm sure this has a lot to do with my own preferences or personality type. But I think to me, a friend is somebody who is part of your life. Someone is one of the first people that you call when something good happens, and one of the first people you call when something bad happens, and someone you feel like you can depend on when you're feeling down, and that you can reach out to without fear that your vulnerability or neediness is going to push them away, right? Just someone who you have a really strong and stable connection with. I think this is a lot harder to achieve as adults for a variety of different reasons. Because it's not like I don't ever meet people who I can tell maybe want to become closer friends with me. And sometimes I meet people who, maybe I'm interested in getting to know them better and spending time with them. But sometimes for whatever reason, it just doesn't connect. Definitely as kids, like in a general way, I'm not talking about myself specifically right now, but I think it's easier when you're a kid to make friends because people don't have political stances and sort of strong moral value judgments that you may or may not disagree with. And you're able to be more vulnerable because you can't control your emotions very well, probably. So you probably get in more fights and make up. So making friends as a kid replicates more or mimics more the experience of a sibling relationship, which is great because if you have siblings, then assuming you get along with your siblings, that sibling relationships are pretty awesome because you can apply some good shorthand responses to people. You're not as worried about hurting their feelings. Not that you would want to, but you don't have the same, I guess, filter of concern about what you're going to say to that person. If you text them or you call them and they don't get back to you right away, you're not starting to tell yourself stories about what that means and why they're not getting back to you, which I also don't think that's what I'm saying. You wouldn't probably do that with a childhood friend either. It's just new friends. And that's why making new friends is hard. Also, maybe this is some of my INFJ-ness coming out because maybe I'm sure other people don't find making friends as adults too difficult, but there's probably a lot of you that do. Growing up, I always felt much more comfortable having one or two really close friends who were, like a best friend, someone that you could really rely on. And I would notice other people that had a lot of closer friends, and I like the idea of that. And I would feel probably a sense of like jealousy or envy at people who are able to be that way. But that's just not how I am. And that hasn't really seemed to change too much as I've gotten older. My hair smells amazing. I just need to point that out. I had a shower this evening. It smells so good. Just like every time I move it, I can smell it. I love it. And I think the reason this is on my mind more now is that something I realized as I've gotten older that I didn't know, that I always, I think I'm fairly self-aware. So something I always kind of knew was there, but that I'd spent a lot of years of my life not having to think about or look at, was that there was also a pocket of time when I was young growing up, like from ages or grades, let's say grades, I can remember like kindergarten to maybe grade 3-ish, grade 4, where I never really had consistent friendships. And I felt lonely a lot of the time for those years. And when you're that young, like I've heard a lot of developmental programming gets instilled between sort of birth and age, I think 7 or 8. So during those really critical developmental years, in terms of peer relationships, I felt, a lot of disconnection and a lot of loneliness and like lack of acceptance, which I'm sure has, and I didn't realize to what degree, probably has impacted, how I view relationships now, whether they're romantic or friendships. And I'm sure it's a combination of things, right? So it would have been a combination of my own personality type, my attachment style with my parents growing up. And those things would have in turn influenced the kind of ability I had to be social and how I would experience those interactions, I think. But like I said, there's been also been a lot of years of my life where I have had close friendships and I didn't think about those feelings of isolation or loneliness that I had felt. But obviously, like I said, they were there. They were sort of permeating below the surface of my relationships. And looking back, I can see, in some ways the way that would have interacted in my friendships. Yeah. So some of those struggles, early life, got older, didn't really have an awareness of those things, and was able to definitely have close friendships. But I'm playing with a pen because I feel kind of nervous. So I keep opening and closing this pen, which might be showing up in the audio a bit. So 4 or 5 years ago now, my marriage ended. And leading up to that, I had already started thinking more about wanting to have more close friendships, because when you're in a long-term relationship, it can be a thing where you rely on that person more as your main person, your best friend, and the person who you kind of share most of the things with. And I hadn't put really any effort into, I definitely put effort into spending time with friends, but more in the way of acquaintances, right? So you'd kind of have the girls' nights, maybe once a month, or, you'd get together with your kids here and there, but not the same kind of connection. So I found myself on my own making an effort to be more social with existing friendships and make those closer. But just feeling like I was doing a lot of the work. And also around this time, I would find that, so I don't live close to my family, who I'm quite close with, very close with. And my kids would go to their dads for a number of days. And I would just feel like almost panic at the thought of being alone, because I felt very alone. The weekends would trigger me. So being alone on the weekend, I felt like a super duper loser. Those would be the times that I would be on the phone with my mother, just like expressing to her as if it would make some kind of difference, but just telling her how lonely that I felt. And sometimes just, breaking down and like crying to her about that. And I would do different things to try to combat that. Like I joined a co-ed softball league. I am not very good at sports because I get anxious about how much I suck. And then my performance is even worse. But I gave it a try. I tried different things like that. So I was making an effort. I came across a few YouTube channels in the last maybe year or so that I feel like have helped shed some light on kind of what I've been going through. And one of them is, and I'll put the links below in case you want to check them out. One of them is one more about consciousness and manifesting, kind of like The Secret sort of stuff. His name is Doughty. And one of the things that comes up a lot in his videos, which I'm sure it's not a unique concept, but he does a really good job of explaining it in a way that makes sense to me. But yeah, the idea of whatever you resist persists. So then I'm realizing like, oh, maybe complaining about how lonely I feel often is a form of resistance. So that's one thing. The other channel is the Personal Development School, and that is Gibson. And that channel is really great. In one of the videos, she talks about this idea of the fact that in relationships, we need to fill our bucket at least halfway, right? Because nobody else is going to be able to make us feel completely full as people, which makes perfect sense. And also that it makes sense then that if you're having a really hard time and you're feeling lonely and you've got these feelings of, attachment dysfunction or loneliness from childhood, if that's all going on, of course, whether it's a romantic or a friendship, of course, those relationships are going to be difficult because you're not coming to them as, or at least in my case, I don't think I was coming to them as someone who was in a great place myself. So right now, in some ways, I feel like I'm being invited by, whether you think it's God or the universe or your higher consciousness. But I feel like I'm being invited to change a lot of my own views on things. And it's really difficult because there's a letting go required for that to happen, I think, which, you can't fake that. So we'll see how it goes. So basically what I've decided to do is just sort of not think about that too much, right? Like set an intention to be open to connections with people who could be a good match, if that makes sense, for friendship. But yeah, just to get it sort of off my mind. So it isn't something that I'm dwelling on. And I actually think that has gotten a lot better. I don't think I don't think I tell my mom at all lately that I'm feeling lonely. Not that I never do, but I just don't think I let myself really dwell on it anymore because it's not useful. So just refocusing my energy, I guess, on the things that I can control and being or having gratitude for the things that I'm happy about. So putting more focus and spending more time with my kids. Also, I feel like I've really been getting called a lot over the last several years and sort of ignoring it through focusing on the things I can't change. But I feel like I've really been getting called to work on some hobbies that if I could develop, I think would make me feel, an inner sense of being proud of myself, or just having these skills that can bring me joy and get me more in my sensing self, back to like another sort of Myers-Briggs, but not so being stuck in the kind of intuitive ruminating sort of state, but just actually doing things more. Like I've been teaching myself to play the ukulele recently, which is something when I was younger, I really loved playing an instrument when I was forced to at school. And then I never had the discipline to keep it up. So that's been actually a lot of fun and just something I'll do and just play and sort of sing along and just get, into like a space of the present moment, which is something I struggle with a bit. And then being happy for the times when I can go visit my family and talk to them. And also to be aware of the fact that, right now I can't be near them. I have to be where I am so that it makes sense for my kids. And so I can have these thoughts of, wishing that I could be closer to my family. So, and that's something that there's a resistance to that, because then I'm resisting where I am. I'm resisting kind of my present experience in life, thinking that. So just trying to be more satisfied, happy with my present circumstance, my present location of where I'm living. And also to acknowledge that, like any family, if I lived close to my family, in some ways it'd be awesome. What is the name of that song my sister sent me? I'm going to look it up. Hold on. Oh, my hair, like I keep getting distracted by how good my hair smells. But so my sister sent me this song to listen to called Lonely Weekend by Kacey Musgraves. And one of the lines in the song says, "And if my sister lived in town, that we'd be doing something fun." And we totally would be doing something fun if my sister lived in town, or if I lived in back home in her town, in my town, or my old town. So that is true. But at the same time, it wouldn't be perfect, right? Just like any time in my life when I thought if I did something different, that my life would be fixed and perfect. It didn't happen. So I'm trying to be more aware of that truth, which is, if I lived where I think I want to live, my life wouldn't be perfect. So, it would come with its own bag of problems. And that's okay. I'm not trying to be negative about that. It's just, I don't need to make that sort of a this like thing to put on a pedestal of like a grass is greener thing. Just enjoy the present location and situation a bit more. I have my ukulele with me, so I'll show you one of the songs that I'm working on right now. This is it's a tenor ukulele. I hold it more like a guitar. I'm not sure if that's correct. I've never taken lessons, but I watch a YouTube channel called Can Uke and I'm sorry to Can Uke for talking about the channel if I suck and I'm not a good representation of other people that watch your channel. But I'm really enjoying it because it's super easy to follow along with. And why did this become a different video entirely? I don't know. But I'm going to play a bit of the song for fun just because it's something I'm working on. So this one is Blinding Lights by The Weeknd because I really like that song. And yeah, I'm not going to sing along, even though I know the words and I could. But I'm not ready for that kind of vulnerability in my life yet. So I'll just try to play it and see how that goes. So basically, look out, Nashville, here I come. All right, well, thank you for checking out this video. If you enjoyed it and you want to hear more other things that are on my mind, then you can subscribe, or there's something about a bell there used to be. I don't know if that's still a thing. And like the video, that would be cool too. Thanks.